The night air was heavy with dust and whispers as the crowd gathered around the wooden post in the heart of the frontier camp. A flickering lantern threw trembling light across the face of a young Apache girl, her wrists bound with rusted chains that cut deep into her skin. Her dark hair fell like a curtain over eyes that once burned with freedom but now glimmered with quiet desperation. The men around her laughed, their boots crunching dry earth as they wagered who'd pay the highest price for the wild one. She didn't understand every word they said, but the tone was clear: a mockery, desire, cruelty. Every jeer cut deeper than the chains that held her. The trader behind her tugged the chain like she was livestock, his voice dripping greed as he called out her worth in silver coins. She stood still, trembling, her pride a flicker in the wind. Then her gaze lifted and met his. A stranger, a man unlike the others. He stood apart, his weather-worn face shadowed beneath the hat that had seen years of travel. His eyes didn't carry the hunger or cruelty the others did. Instead, they held something she hadn't seen in a long time: a hesitation. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, something wordless passed between them. She could sense that he was not a man of violence, not one who found pleasure in the suffering of others. His coat was dusty, his hands rough from labor, but there was something honest about him, something she could trust. The trader, noticing the stranger's attention, smirked. "You want her, cowboy? She's wild, but a man could tame her with the right touch." The man roared with laughter, but the stranger didn't laugh. He just looked at her again, his jaw tightening as if he were at war with his own conscience. The girl's heart raced. She had no voice left to beg with, but something in her rose up against the silence. As the trader yanked her forward, she stumbled, landing on her knees before the stranger. Dust clung to her face as she whispered in a trembling voice, barely audible over the noise, "Please see Broken Bar." Her lips quivered, her breath shallow. "Buy me Broken Bar and make me your wife." The words came out broken, heavy with fear and fragile hope. The crowd went silent for a heartbeat, then erupted into laughter so cruel it echoed through the camp. "You hear that?" one man jeered. "She wants to be your bride." But the stranger didn't move. He just stared down at her, the flickering light catching the tear that ran down her cheek. He knew what her words truly meant. It wasn't love she offered, it was survival, a plea to be owned by someone who might treat her as human, not a beast. For a moment, he thought of walking away. She wasn't his problem, but that whisper, that trembling voice, stayed in his ears like a ghost. He took a step forward. "How much?" His voice was calm, steady. The trader grinned wide, thinking he'd just made easy money. The man paid more than she was worth, tossing silver into the trader's greedy hands. When the chains came off, her wrists bled freely. She swayed but didn't fall. The stranger took off his coat and draped it over her shoulders, his touch gentle yet firm. The crowd muttered, disappointed that the show was over, and drifted away one by one. The trader counted his coins, laughing. But the man didn't hear him. He looked at the girl, the woman standing before him, shivering beneath his coat. She looked up at him again, eyes wide with disbelief. "Why did you do it?" she asked softly, her English broken but clear enough. He didn't answer right away. Maybe he didn't know himself, because no one should be chained like that. He finally said, her lips parted, a faint gasp of relief escaping her. But inside, she wondered what kind of life awaited her now. Was he her savior or just another master in a gentler disguise? The night wind carried away the laughter, the smoke, the smell of iron and sweat. What remained was silence between two souls from different worlds, one broken, one burdened, and a promise neither had spoken aloud. This was only the beginning. The road stretched endlessly beneath the burning Arizona sun, a ribbon of dust winding through dry hills and whispering mesquite. Jacob rode ahead, his hat pulled low to shield his eyes, while the Apache girl Ira, she had said her name, also followed quietly on a small, tired horse he'd bought for her that morning. Every few minutes, he glanced back, making sure she hadn't fallen behind. She rode with straight posture despite her bruises, her dark eyes fixed on the horizon as though searching for something she'd lost long ago. Neither spoke for hours. The silence between them was heavy, filled with things neither dared to ask. When Jacob finally broke it, His voice was low and unsure. "You got a place you want me to take you?" She hesitated before answering, her accent soft but clear. "No place left." Her gaze drifted toward the faraway mesas, where her people once roamed free. "They burned it all." Jacob said nothing after that. He'd seen it before with the charred remains of villages, the bodies left for crows. He'd never agreed with the army's ways, but saying that out loud was dangerous. So he just nodded and kept riding, feeling the weight of her words press against his chest like a stone. When night came, they stopped by a stream. Jacob built a small fire while Naira crouched nearby, washing the dirt from her face. The flames flickered in her eyes, reflecting something deeper than sorrow, a quiet strength, a refusal to break. He handed her a piece of bread and some jerky, but she hesitated before taking it, as if unsure whether kindness was real. "Eat," he said gently. "You need it." She nodded and ate slowly, her hands trembling. For a long while, the only sounds were the crackling fire and the soft rush of water. Then she spoke, her voice barely more than a whisper. "You don't have to keep me. You bought me. Yes, a broken bar, but you can let me go." Her words struck him like a blade. He stared into the fire, thinking, "If I let you go, where would you go?" She looked up, her face glowing in the firelight. "Maybe back to the desert, maybe nowhere. Better to die free than live owned." Jacob's jaw tightened. "You're not owned," he said firmly. "Not by me." She studied him for a moment, her eyes narrowing as if testing his truth. Then she looked away. "All men say that," she murmured. The night grew colder, and a coyote howled in the distance. Jacob leaned back against the rock, the firelight dancing across his face. "You said your name was Naira," he said quietly. "What does it mean?" She hesitated, then replied, "It means I'm the one who survives." The name fit her perfectly, he thought. Everything about her silence, her resilience, her fiery spoke of survival. When she finished eating, he offered her his blanket. She refused at first, pride flickering in her eyes. But when the wind picked up, she took it without a word. She lay a few paces away, her face turned toward the stars. Jacob watched her for a while, wondering what kind of horrors she had seen, what kind of strength it took to still look at the sky with hope after all that. Hours passed, and sleep came slowly. He was half dozing when he heard a sound of soft sobs muffled against the night air. He turned his head and saw her, shoulders trembling beneath the blanket. She thought he couldn't hear. He wanted to speak, to comfort her, but something in him held back. What words could possibly mean what she'd endured? So he just listened, his eyes fixed on the stars, his heart heavy with the sorrow that wasn't his but felt as though it were. When morning came, Naira was already awake, gathering wood and tending the horses. The sun painted her skin gold, and for the first time, she looked almost peaceful. Jacob walked over, handed her a canteen, and met her gaze. "We'll reach my ranch by noon," he said. "You'll be safe there." She nodded, but in her eyes lingered both gratitude and fear. Safe, she thought, but for how long? In this world, safety was only another kind of illusion, one that could vanish with the next storm of men and guns. Yet as they rode on, for the first time in a long while, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she had found a place where she could breathe again.